beautiful Sunday night. We are coming to you live from our Nile Serena studios. This is Perspective with Josephine Karunji.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the program. Well, this Sunday we are speaking to a woman who was on death row, had all the odds against her, but she managed to find a way out of it for herself. Let's play a clip that shows what her life was like, and where she tells us a little bit about her story, and then we'll start our conversation.
Despite her long walk to freedom, Susan Kigula wears a smile and exudes confidence. She talks to us about herself and her 16-year journey in Luzira Women's Prison.
I am Susan Kigula, a former death row inmate. I served 16 years in prison. I have a family. I love them so much.
16 years on death row is certainly no joke. Not knowing when the hangman would show up announcing her prison number was torturous enough.
When I was sentenced to death, the first thing that ran in my mind was that now I'm finished. I was young then, 21 years of age, and I could not fathom the fact that my life was going to end in prison, more or less being hanged. I lost hope. I was desperate. It was so painful. I had left out my 1-year-old daughter. It was very devastating. Living with a death row syndrome, knowing that any time I may be killed, I may be taken to the gallows, because I even did not know the processes. So that fear alone engulfed me a lot.
Susan, who was 21 at the time, was not one to be defined by her circumstances, however grave. She encouraged herself and her fellow inmates, and this was the beginning of her turning point.
I was privileged to be confined in there because it actually gave me opportunity to exploit my potentials and talents. There are several rehabilitation programs that they have, like tailoring, hairdressing, and craft making. But I needed something more than that. Yeah, because even if one could acquire skills, but I realized that I needed to be someone who can influence the community or the society, someone who can impact positively in the society, someone who can help change people's lives for better, who can support the marginalized, who can agitate and advocate for the rights of the women, of the children in prison and outside the prison. So with only those skills, I would not do that. So I embarked on reading, because then in prison, we didn't have a school except an informal adult literacy arrangement. And I realized that if we had to go on and face the future, we needed a school. So great thanks to the CGP again, and Madame Namfuka, who was then the OC, Elizabeth, Madame Nurukatelega, who was the welfare then. I pressurized them to allow us to start a school. The men were studying, and I think they had not thought that women also needed it, because I think the women had never asked. So I asked on behalf of myself and on behalf of the rest, and they allowed, simply like that. They said, okay, yeah, go on, start.
She was the first female inmate to study and graduate with a diploma in common law, followed by a law degree. In 2009, she led a death penalty petition in the Ugandan Constitutional Court with 417 other death row inmates, challenging mandatory death sentences. It took several years to decide, but as a result, mandatory death sentences were abolished in Uganda.
Death penalty campaign that we have not talked about that I led, in the famous case, Susan Kigula, 417 others, I want to thank so much Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, Katende Sempevo and the Company Advocates, and other stakeholders, African Prison Project, who stood with us in that petition when death row inmates in Uganda, in a historical case, challenged the death penalty in our constitutional courts. And the end results were but good. They were good, we would say, because it has seen most of them out of prison. Many people would say, why do we release people who killed others? I want people out there to know this. Not everyone who is in prison committed a crime. Not everyone who is convicted to death indeed committed a crime. Judges are human beings and they are bound to error.
Susan was released in 2016 and now works with African Prisons Project.
Once again, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on the show. This can't be easy for you to speak about Susan. I know you're not very comfortable with talking about the circumstances under which you went to the prison, but we're thankful that you took the time to join us here on the show. So I'm listening to you talking about how you decided to go and study the law, to get a law degree, and I'm thinking you make it seem like you went all out, decided to go, and then you didn't have any moment where you thought, this is too much for me. Did she have a moment where she just was tired?
Yes, of course. I heard it, and she's a witness.
What happened?
Actually, she had one. The law program is a correspondence program. So it was too much for her. She requested to see me. Then she came and told me, you know what, Osi? I'm giving up on this course. Things are very hard. I can't handle. So I had to come in. I had to cancel her. I had to talk to her. And finally, at the end, she was like, I'm going to go back and study. I'm not giving up.
What made you go back?
After she talked to me, and also Alexander McLean, the Director General of African Prisons Project, intervened, and he encouraged me because himself is a lawyer and as well as a magistrate in the UK, and he was the one who had availed me the opportunity to study law. He sponsored my studies from the University of London. When he shared with me also that at one time he was running out of it, and until someone talked to him into doing it, I also realized that, okay, well, if he's now a magistrate, yeah, and he was trying to run out of it, and then he went back, why not? I think I can do it. And then I put in much energy, more dedication, and synergy, and then, yeah, until when I finished my diploma in law.
Actually, also after she was giving up, after talking to the director APP, we had to bring in some external facilitators to come and guide her through some of these papers that she was.
At that point, was she doing it all alone?
Yes, she was doing it alone. She was given books to go and start reading. So she failed. She was like, I can't read, things are hard. So after we talked to APP boss, he brought in external facilitators to come and help her.
But it wasn't just you, Susan?
Yeah, it was just me in the women prison, and to remind us of what was going on then, because we were the pioneers, I and 3 others from the men section, but I, the only woman, and then we had been set on a trial, because the University of London itself didn't think that in prison there can be potential. Prisoners can do law and pass. So instead of enrolling us directly on an LLB, a law degree, they first gave us a diploma. And going through the diploma, I went through the diploma without those external facilitators.
Okay.
They came in when I had passed and embarked on a law degree.
Okay.
Yeah, but African Prison Project could send in its employees who had done law to come and encourage me and support me, of course.
So I'm
Actually,
curious.
we also had a lawyer who was in prison.
Okay.
She was still going to court. She was a remand prisoner. I also called her and told her, please help Susan go through some of these subjects. And I think she did some good, but
Well, yeah, no.
Well, so you were a mentor of
Yeah,
sorts.
she was my mentor,
Okay.
and she actually supported me so much because I really don't know why, but she supported me. She wanted me up there. She always pushed me. She was a great support behind my studies in prison. The lady she asked to help me was a lawyer, and unfortunately she was released quickly.
So she didn't really help much.
She really didn't.
One of the things I'm curious about is, how is it that we have to wait for help from abroad? We don't have any help from our universities within the country?
We have help from Nakawa, Makerere University Business School, but when it came to Luzira Women Prison, the inmates were few who are capable of joining the university. So they concentrated in upper prison, and in women prison we didn't get a chance of continuing with the university.
Yeah, because also the eligibility criteria is quite difficult. Those who are supposed to join university, first of all, have to be convicts, serving a number of years, which will enable them to study in prison and finish. And also those who have finished their A-levels and passed well. And you find that most of the ladies have not done their O-level. Others who would have passed are not interested in doing university studies. Others would rather do some other courses. Not everyone is interested in doing law. And also the university, the Makerere University and other universities have not come in to offer a number of different courses.
So besides law, you said they're not interested, some are not interested in law. What other courses do you have? What other courses can a prisoner say, I want to do this? And
yeah, of recent, African Prison Project carried out a survey in prison to find out what other courses interest the ladies in prison. And the ladies actually say that they would rather do business administration, they would rather do fashion and design. Others say medicine, funny, because medicine is also very difficult.
But you did law and you managed to get it, so
I did.
Why are you laughing at them?
No, because they're like, law is very difficult, and I do think medicine is more difficult than law. This is my perception. Yeah, there are a number of courses that they would have loved to do apart from doing law.
Okay.
But mainly business-oriented courses.
Okay.
Also, what you should also take note of, most of these women have not been to school. So that's why we have functional adult literacy to help these ones who have never been to school. Then those who have stopped somewhere, maybe someone stopped in primary 6, when she comes to prison, she can continue to P7. Then others have stopped in secondary. But what you have to notice also, the female prisoners are normally few compared to the male prisoners. The number is normally small.
When you say few, what do you mean? Like how many?
Right now in Luzira Women Prison, I have 460 prisoners and
how
30
many
children.
Of those are eligible, the women? How many are eligible to maybe take up a course or, you know?
Less than 20.
Less than 20?
Yes.
Why is it less than 20?
Most of these inmates have not been to school.
Are there facilities that can help them get to a point where they can get eligible? Primary schools, secondary schools, starting points?
Yes, in Luzira Women Prison we have primary education, we have secondary education, we have O-level and A-level, and some of them are studying. But one thing you have to notice, some of them are serving long sentences. So at times they really don't have hope.
Okay.
So they're not interested in going to school. So school needs a lot of interest. If you don't have interest, it becomes hard. Someone will tell you, I'm interested maybe to go and study hairdressing, I'm interested in tailoring, but school, even some of them tell you that, you know what, I'm too old to study. Some go to school and they give up. They're like, things are so hard, my head can't take in.
And what's the point anyway?
So we try counseling some of them, because some have gone back to school, especially the ones serving long sentences. We try counseling them, telling them, no, this is this and this. Even if you're old, you can read. Then you concentrate on that person more who wants to give up in school.
Okay. Oh, Susan, I'd want to hear from you. When people are thinking, what's the point anyway? I have a long sentence, I might never come out. You were facing the death penalty. So I'm curious to know what gave you this awakening. Let me do something with myself. There might be hope after all.
Initially, before I went back to study, because I myself, I had just done only my O-level by the time I went to prison. When I was on death row, just like the OC has talked about the many ladies who have not gone to school, I saw the hopelessness. I saw the anguish, the disappointment women had because of what brought them to prison. And changing their mindset was quite difficult if they had not gone through any kind of education. So there was the adult functional literacy programs that were going on, but still they were on and off. And then actually encouraged some of them to come up and we go back and we study. What gave me energy, one thing was God. I gave my life to Jesus, and then that energy of accepting Jesus and getting that hope from God was the first thing that pushed me.
Was the first step.
Yes. Then the second thing, I had left there my 1-year-old daughter, and I needed her to be proud of her mother. And there was no way my baby was going to be proud of me in the future if I just sat back in prison and cry. And also I realized that the ladies, they needed to be helped. They needed to be empowered. How was I going to do this when we had not gone far from...
You had to set the example.
I had to set the example.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop you there for a minute and we'll take a short break and then we'll catch up from there when we return.
Salons, we offer professional barber, hairdressing at Lugogo Mall, Garden City, Forest Mall, Oasis Mall, and Acacia Mall. Sparkle Saloon, professional, affordable, and quality services.
Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, Nile Room. Well, just before you took a break, and you're smiling, you're thinking about your daughter. So she gave you hope?
Yes, she did. She gave me hope, and I need to be an example to her. I didn't want her to say or think my mom was a failure. My mom, you know, when she went to prison, she vanished and evaporated with the prison. And I realized that even coming out of prison needed some bit of intelligence, beating about here and there with the law. So I encouraged others, and we requested for a school, which they allowed. But also what gave me energy was the support that I got from the Uganda Prison Service, thanks to the Commissioner General of Prisons, Dr. Jenson Byabashija. He gave me an opportunity to exploit my talents and my potentials, and with the support from the officers in charge, from Madam Nafka, Madam Nantali, and most especially Madam Stella Nabanya, who stood with me in that battle, in that it was a battle. It was a battle, my dear, it was.
What does your daughter think about you now?
She's so proud of me. She always tells me, "Mommy, you're my hero."
Wow.
Yeah.
Before you went to prison, what were you doing with yourself?
I was doing business.
You were doing business. So I'm trying to see the transition, business to law. What made you think law is where I should go?
Definitely, everyone who's in prison is there because of the law. And you have to get out
somehow
using the law.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. What are the opportunities that are there in prison that maybe a lot of women or men are not seeing, but they're there?
Yeah, we have different groups who come in to support the Uganda Prison Service with our habitation programs that already are there, already existing, like what African Prisons Project did by supporting, and now they are educating others, the other students, law students in upper prison and in women prison. And these women, I really congratulate them who have taken up the challenge to study law, and the men, and also some of the staff are also doing that course, the law course. Yeah.
Maybe apart from the law course, we have from education. I already talked about the functional adult literacy program that is going on, especially for the mature prisoners. Then we also have prisoners in primary, we have those ones in secondary, Then apart from Susan, we have 2 other inmates doing the law course. Then we also have the tailoring. Some of these prisoners come when they're skilled, but some of them learn from prison, the tailoring skills. Then we have the crafts making.
Okay.
Then we have hairdressing. Those are some of the rehabilitation programs.
So that's preparing them for when you come out?
Yes.
Okay.
Apart from that, we also have leisure activities. These prisoners watch televisions, they play netball, and at times they compete with their staff. At times they compete amongst themselves. So it's kind of leisure.
And music, dance, and drama, which I was heading and doing perfectly well.
Did you have any challenges reintegrating with the community when you came out? Well, first of all, what was it like the day you were coming out?
It was an excitement. It was like, oh my God, now I'm going to see the outside again. It was very exciting, but as well anxious.
Tell me about it. They came for you and said,
she prepared me so well.
What did you tell her?
Normally, reintegration involves the welfare officer moving to where she came from to see if people will welcome her, like her people in the society. And then after that, they come and tell her that it's not good for you, can go, or it's not good for you to go back, according to the environment. Yeah. So for her, it was okay. When they left, she was prepared to go home. So she was happy, she was excited, and we also encouraged her to pray a lot. So she went out, and
my family came for me, and I was welcomed in the community. My family welcomed me, and my daughter was very excited. We hugged and cried and hugged. I had friends who came all the way from Sweden to welcome me as well, and they threw for me 2 big parties out there. And wherever I've been traveling all over the world, but wherever I have been in Europe, people have welcomed me.
But did you have any difficulties, any challenges, any shocks and surprises?
Yes, I did, especially with the technology that I found here, because by the time I went to prison, I didn't know how to operate a phone. Now, here I find these smartphones, so I have to just touch it, I remember this really well when my father was driving in the car that day, and a phone rang, and he told me, I'm driving, receive it. And I was like, hey, Dad, how do I receive this one? Now, see the red button and the green button. Touch the green one and scroll towards me. And I was like, okay, yeah, now what? And I was like, put it in your ear and say hello. I said, okay, hello. So also this technology where you find that people go out and everyone is just on the phone, the friendship, the comfort which people used to give each other is not there anymore because of the phones. People have replaced the friendship and love for family and friends with the phones. That is a surprise to me, because in prison we used to be there for each other.
You don't have those gadgets and access. So what technology is there in prison?
They don't make phone calls, but we have the computers. They have access to computers, but internet, no.
So how are you getting the information for your books and things?
Well, African Prison Project would liaison with the University of London, and they would get me some recorded lessons on an MP3 player, which I would use, yes.
Okay. So what have you been up to since you were released?
I've been going all over the world, and I'm a human rights activist here, but I'm also advocating for the abolition of the death penalty. I am an international motivational speaker. I am an ambassador for African Prison Project. So I'm rare here in Uganda.
Okay, well then we're honored to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you. But my passion is to fight for the rights of women in prison, for the rights of children in prison, because these are a category of people who are always forgotten. She's my OC. Up to now I call her mommy, because we used to call her mommy, and I have carried it even up to now, even if she's young.
She was there for all the 16 years?
She was part of the 16 years, yeah. But I saw the struggle that they go through with the women, especially those who come in when they are pregnant, they give birth to children, the fathers are nowhere to be seen, the children grow up in their hands, and they reach a time when they have to leave the prison because these children are not prisoners, mind you, and you see them struggling to make sure they find a place for these children. So yeah, I felt that, yeah, even if someone is in prison, even if someone is serving a sentence, a child should not suffer like a mother.
I want to go deeper into that subject, but I'm afraid it will take us away from from today's topic. But that's something that's worth getting into. It's worth looking into. When you look at the women who are there, what more can you do, can other women do to empower them? What more can the prisons do?
I think she can come in.
The ladies need more spiritual guidance by the spiritual leaders. Then they also need to be more counseled.
Empowered.
That will also empower them. Then also maybe the families should learn to forgive some of these people, because at times when the welfare officers try to get in touch with the relatives, they are not interested. They don't like to do anything to do with the prisoners. So the families should come and support these prisoners while they're in prison, because it gives them hope. Most of these ladies are rehabilitated. They've changed. They've become better people in society. And one thing that I have to let you know is that the rate of recidivism of female prisoners is quite low. At least when they come to prison, they never come back to prison. So they need to be supported by their families. Not only prisons, but also their families.
And also maybe what other women out here
can
give to them. I think if they can come up and provide programs where they can receive these ladies and help them reintegrate back in society by providing them with some capital to start a startup for these small businesses, because also that is a great challenge for them when they come out, because now when we come out, we are no longer in their hands. So we have to fend for ourselves. We have to find a way out in the society. And if you have no one to support you, to hold your hand, you may disappear in the society. You may even die. We may lose you in the process when they fought tooth and nail to protect you and to make sure that you come out when you're alive.
Okay. Well, I need to ask her one question, and you answered it for me, but I need to know from you. Do you think that people actually change? Do you think prison changes people?
Yes, I am an example of how positive transformation can happen in prison. I want to tell you that every human being in this world has a capacity to transform his or her life, has a capacity and potential to change if that person is given an opportunity and a chance. This is what they do. This is what the Ghana Prison Service do. They give us the opportunities. They don't call us prisoners, by the way. They don't.
What do they call you?
Inmates.
Okay.
And you know, it sounds more comforting. You feel accepted. You feel like, yes, some other person cares. Because those people who are in prison, there are always other sides of the stories that you've not heard, apart from what you see in the papers, apart from what you see at the arrest scene. These people have an untold story that they hold. So I would implore the public not to judge them, but to give them an opportunity and the chance to change and to change the world. Because if you don't give them an opportunity to change, then that means if they get back to society, they may become a problem once more. Yeah. But if you embrace them and welcome them and love them and forgive them, you don't forgive because one deserves to be forgiven, but you forgive for the sake of peace. Because even us who are in prison, we have decided to forgive and to completely forgive. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Susan. Let's take another short break and we'll be right back.
We offer professional barber, hairdressing at Lugogo Mall, Garden City, Forest Mall, Oasis Mall and Acacia Mall. Sparkle Saloon, professional, affordable and quality services.
Welcome back. We are coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, Nile Room. And tonight we are hosting Susan Kigula, who was on death row, but then went to school and did something with herself. Are you a full-fledged lawyer now?
I am a lawyer, but I'm not a practicing lawyer yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? You're with the African Prisons Project?
I am with African Prison Project.
How has it impacted you?
So positively and so wonderfully, because I have been given an opportunity to travel all over the world to speak about what prisoners do in prison, or speak about what transformation can happen in prison, what African Prison Project and Uganda Prison Service has been able to achieve in the prisoners' lives while in prison and out of prison. Yes.
Okay. Oh, Officer, I cut you short before we took a break. I'm interested in knowing what you wanted to say about the empowerment of women that are in prison.
The empowerment is both from prisons and the public out. So the public should come and support these prisoners.
How?
Like, for example, their relatives should come and visit them. They shouldn't dump them in prison. Some of these prisoners never get visitors.
Sure.
When you try to make phone calls, the comments they'll get from the relatives are not good. We need their support. These people are rehabilitated. They've changed, they are rehabilitated, and they're better people while in prison.
When you spoke earlier and you said, say before Susan was released, you had to go to her community and talk to them. How often do you do that? Is it just this one visit? Because maybe some relatives have deeply seated pains from whatever happened, and they're just not willing. They also maybe need counseling or some help to be able to accept.
The welfare officer doesn't move there once. She makes like 3 to 4 visits, depending on the situation at hand.
Okay.
Because there are scenarios where she will move there, and the people will be like, no, it's okay, we forgive her, let her come. And there are people who will be like, don't bring that person back here. Let her not come back here. So you have to go back to try and convince them that this person is a better person. At times she writes letters apologizing, reconciliation comes in. At times she comes with the relatives up to the prison and they try to talk, forgiving for what they did.
You never get instances where somebody goes back to her community and they do something to her?
When the environment is not fit for the prisoner to go back, we normally advise and we get an alternative than going back to the environment where the person came from.
Okay.
We will normally assess the situation at hand, because most of these prisoners have served long sentences. So if someone has been in prison for 10 years and you still can't forgive, then we have to look for an alternative. But after 10 years, someone should have a heart of forgiving for whatever wrong that happened in society.
And adding on what the officer in charge is talking about, the inviting the community to support in this rehabilitation program or integration, it's understandable for people to feel angry and bitter, resentful about this person. But what we advise them to know is that, just like Shah said, that if one stays in prison for more than 3 years, 4 years, 5, goes into 10, and honestly speaking, you cannot find a place in your heart to forgive. It's actually devastating. Then that means there is no difference between you and the person who went to prison, because the other one has already sought forgiveness from God, from you, and you're refusing to forgive. You're refusing to allow them back in society, and so you're not creating any difference between the person you call a criminal and yourself, who thinks that you're a saint. So this is why we want to come in and embrace a society of sinners and saints living together.
Okay. Well, in 2009, you led a death penalty petition. Tell me how that went and what you feel about where we are now.
I want to first thank the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, Kandeni Sempewa and Company Advocates, who spearheaded the petition. What came out, we appreciate the outcome, even if legally the death penalty remained constitutional in our law books, because the judges held that it was not their responsibility to squash it off from the law books. It was the legislators, the parliamentarians, to do that. But mandatory death sentences were abolished in Uganda, and that was a success. It is still a success, because this is where you see that the judges' hands have been untied, unlike before, when if one was found to be guilty of murder or any capital offense, the only sentence that one would be subjected to was only death. So now judges are able to sentence people to other years, except that now the years have become weird, and oh my God, you sentence someone to 40 years. We understand that also they may be okay. The gravity of the case may be.
Do you never feel that it is justified, the 40 years maybe or plus, considering what the person maybe has done?
But now we do believe, we're not advocating for prisoners to be set free when they've done wrong, Honestly, if someone does wrong, they really deserve to be punished. But the punishment should be retributive, not punitive. You don't punish someone by killing the person. No, you don't punish someone by letting the person stay in prison until when she dies there. You're sentencing someone to 40, 50 years, and you're saying that this person will not even survive those years. Even you yourself, who is sentencing, you will not survive those years. So there is no point. We should sentence them to years where they can be rehabilitated and come back to the society. This is what we feel. We should not let them go scot-free, no, but they should be given sentences which they can serve, rehabilitate themselves, and then come back to the society and serve the society. We have seen so many people have been in prison and they're out of prison, they're serving the society, like me, like Nelson Mandela, like so many others here in the country who are very strong men and women. Yes.
The officer is smiling. Why are you smiling at her? Susan, what does the future look like for you? Your future. You're out 2 years now.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
With God's grace, it is going to be brighter. This is all I can say. I don't want to let you on.
You don't want to tell us about you know.
I have so many plans, definitely, but I trust God because God leads the way and I follow.
Okay. But what would you like for the people who are watching, men and women who are watching, children, what would you like for them to pick from our conversation today?
People outside there, I'm encouraging them to avoid crime because crime can lead you into prison. So be careful with the way you live, the company you have. You can end up into prison. Then people who have relatives in prisons, please come and visit them. Most of these people have changed. Try to forgive. These are human beings. Come and forgive. Come and visit them. Some of them have children, like in Luzira Women Prison. Some of these prisoners come in when they are pregnant. Others come with children, but some of the fathers have not come to visit. I'm encouraging you to come and visit them and forgive them. When they return in society, they've become better people. So please accept them back in society.
And for the women who might be in the inmates who might be watching, what would you want them to know?
I'm telling the inmates to keep disciplined, not to lose hope. Even those serving long sentences, they shouldn't lose hope. They will get out of prison one day, and they should love their God while they're in prison and outside the prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Susan?
Yeah, I think I have several things to say to the people out there. First of all, I want to thank NTV for hosting us. I want to thank Madam Stella Nabunya for always being a mentor for me. Now we are here together. I want to encourage my fellow inmates. I still call I call myself an inmate by choice, because I still want to be affiliated with them so that I continue to encourage them and inspire them. Just like you have seen, now we are seated together with the OC, and you remember those times. So you too, you can be me or more than me if you serve your sentences as disciplined people. You don't have to lose hope. Don't worry about what the world is saying about you. What matters is what you say about yourself and what does God say about you, because He has offered us a forgiveness, and it's our prayer that also the world out here forgives you as well. I want to also thank the Commissioner General of Prisons for giving me the opportunity to study and for supporting me and African Prison Project throughout all our programs in prisons. I want also to encourage the public to continue to support Uganda Prison Service in their rehabilitative programs to make sure that these people who are in prison come out better people and change, and they can live in the society when they're not harmful. I humbly, kindly implore the legislators of Uganda, the Uganda government, our lovely president, to abolish the death penalty. I understand that no one can stand where crime rate is high and people are killing each other, but I think let us address the crime rather than the criminals, and let us get to the root cause of why people are committing those crimes, and let us not let not our state kill just because we want to get revenge from those who killed.
And what would you like to say to your daughter? I'm sure she's watching from wherever she is.
My lovely daughter, I love you so much. Thank you for being so brave and courageous throughout all the years that I was away from you. I want to thank all the people who supported me by raising her. I want to thank my family, the Njagala family, the Kigula family, all of my family members, all of my loved ones, my friends who stood with me, thank you so much for raising my daughter. Thank you so much for being there for me when I was in prison. And I want to thank those who have accepted me back. Thank you so much for believing in me. Thank you, Alexander McLean. Thank you, African Prison Project.
Wow,
God
that's a lot of thanking to do.
Yeah.
And thank you both so much for taking the time to come and talk to us about maybe your story, and also talking to us about what's happening within the prison and what you're trying to do for the women that are there. Thank you so much. That was this episode of Perspective with Josephine Karunji. NTV Weekend Edition is coming up next.
Renew your monthly basic bouquet subscription of 18,000 shillings before it expires. Then enjoy 3 free days only on StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.